places.
WDAY presents the best sports show in the region. Our season never stops. You're watching Sports Sunday.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dom Izzo. Welcome to a special edition of Sports Sunday. We stand just 6 days away from a new Bison football season. Over the next half hour, we're going to get you ready for the opener at US Bank Stadium. And now NDSU is hoping to return to the top of the FCS mountain. Also coming up over the next 30 minutes, Cam Miller returns for his fourth season as the starting quarterback for the Bison. He's won a national title and got NDSU to another trip to Frisco, but he's remembered more for the losses than the wins. How Miller is preparing for another year under center. Also coming up tonight, his absence could not be underestimated in 2022. Eli Mostert is back and hungry to prove his All-American status this coming fall. Logan Campbell visits with the Lakeville, Minnesota native about his comeback from a broken leg. Also, the March for Minneapolis begins later this week. NDSU is set to return to the Twin Cities, and for the first time, US Bank Stadium is hosting a college football game. How it's a homecoming for some Bison football players, and a preview of the game with Eastern Washington. All that and much more coming up over the next half hour. But we begin our show with part two of my sit-down with Matt Entz. Tonight we focus on if you believe South Dakota State has passed by NDSU and starting the season with 3 of their first 4 games at home. But we open about his signal caller and the expectations that sit on Cam Miller's shoulders.
What do you expect out of Cam? What are you looking for here in 2023?
Leadership, ability to make every throw, getting us in and out of plays. I think he's done a better job of the communication piece. We do put a lot on his plate. I want to see more of Cam being involved in the game planning of it week to week. Cam, what do you like on third down? Because if you like it, that means you're comfortable with it. Then let's take advantage of those things. And so, you know, that's the next part. You got to become the 15th coach or whatever we have, or the next offensive coach. That these are the third down things I like. This is the reads I want to make. This is the quarterback run game that I see that can be successful. You know, and kind of get out of that shell of just being the coaches tell me what to do. No, Cam, you need to be part of the game planning.
Give me your sense of being at US Bank Stadium and where the Minnesota Vikings play, to have that kind of Minnesota connection on your roster. What do you think with Eastern Washington there, a team that you know well, that experience from game day, what it'll be like to open up the season?
Well, I anticipate it's going to be exciting for our players, just the fact that we're playing in an NFL venue, and it is a unbelievable venue. I've been fortunate to be at a couple games with my family down there, and you know, I mean, when you're there on a Sunday and there's fake snow and the drum and the horn, and I mean, they do it right. We're excited. I hope we can push the attendance. It's the largest collection of alumni is in the Twin Cities area or in the state of Minnesota. Nearly half our football team comes from the state of Minnesota. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it. It's a home game on the road. It'll be good for our team to having a road game early is good. I think it creates that bond, that continuity that's always when you get on a bus and take off that you can create.
After that, you don't leave Fargo till October. I mean, is there an opportunity there after the Minneapolis game? You're home until.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, give me a sense of that. That's unique as well.
That is unique. I think it's good. It's good for a team that has some. We talked about earlier, some question marks. Let's get rid of some of the other distractions and let's just worry about Bison football, and let's get good. Let's get better.
Do you get a sense you are chasing, or South Dakota State is even with you now?
I guess, Dom, I really haven't dove into that. I know my number one priority is this program and this university, and so we are doing everything we can to continue to do it better than anyone else.
Now, SDSU has won 4 straight overall games against the Bison. That's the first time that's happened since 1947 to 1950. They play in the middle of November. Entz was counting on Barnesville native and Iowa State transfer Hunter Zenzen to be a big factor on the defensive line this season, but that will not happen. Zenzen suffered a foot injury during fall camp that will cause him to miss the entire year. Zenzen arrived on campus back in January and moved positions from linebacker to D-end. He should be ready for spring ball in 2024. Logan Campbell and Kyle Emanuel have more on Zenzen's injury coming up later on in our show. Also, when our Bison preview special continues, Cam Miller is back for his 4th year as the starting quarterback for the Bison. What are his expectations for this season? We're back in 2.5 minutes.
you like an escape in August. That's right, an SUV you can use to get away to fun times. Shooting Star Casino has your chance to win a brand new ride. Earn entries all month long, plus bonus entries on Saturdays. Then on Sunday, August 27th, be here for hourly cash drawings from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. for up to $5,000. Or the grand prize at 7 p.m., a 2023 SUV ready for you to drive off into the sunset. See the details at starcasino.com.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. Now get 2.9% financing for 66 months plus $1,500 FlexBuy cash on Bronco Sport, Escape, and Edge. Only at your local Northland Ford dealers.
This is Rhonda. She's a soul line dance instructor. And this is Rhonda's Good Feet story.
I love dancing, but I had foot pain and hated the fact that I had to sit out a couple dances. But since visiting the Good Feet store and wearing the arch supports, I definitely have not felt the pain. I am able to dance longer, feel happier. My energy levels have increased. Once that energy gets into you and you're feeling good, double spins.
Get back out there with arch supports from the Good Feet store.
Hey, how are you? How can we help you today?
You know, this old gal's been good to me, but I was looking for something with a little more speed.
You know, I think I have just the right car for you.
So, what do you got for me?
Serving those who served us since 1923.
Good morning, Pat and Al. Welcome to Legacy Wealth.
Nearly every day of every week, someone walks into Legacy Wealth to ask the question, am I doing the right thing for retirement?
At Legacy Wealth, we can help you navigate the path to retirement. We help you consolidate, organize, and understand your situation.
Yeah, at Legacy, the most important person at the table is you.
Catch Investment Talk TV every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. on your ABC television stations throughout North Dakota.
Follow us on Twitter, WDAY News.
Welcome back, everybody, to our Bison Preview Show. There's no spotlight like the one on the NDSU starting quarterback. Cam Miller knows all about it. Thrust into the starting lineup for a playoff game as a freshman, to now where he's about to begin his third year as the unquestioned starter. I sat down with him to ask him how he handles the pressure of being the Bison signal caller.
How frustrating was it offensively for you at the end of last year?
It was frustrating. I felt like I didn't play my best football. I think offensively, we all didn't play the way that we thought we should have, but it was just a learning experience. That's all we can do now is look back on that and learn and grow from it.
How do you feel your leadership role is changed, and it will change for this season? Is more of a vocal guy? I know you and I have talked about that in the past. Does that take an even further step this fall?
Absolutely, and I think we've had this conversation before, and I actually talked about this with my father a month ago probably, and it was very similar to my high school experience. When you're a sophomore in high school and when you're a freshman, sophomore in college, you kind of have to take a step back and let the upperclassmen lead who have played in multiple games when you haven't had that experience. So sitting back and watching how they lead, and I've been fortunate enough to be around great leaders like Cordell Volson, Noah Gindorf. Those guys have been great influences for me. So just trying to absorb as much from those guys, I think, has really helped me become a better leader.
We have a lot of confidence in Cam and what he can do and make plays. You got a quarterback that's won a national championship, and then as another year got us to the title game, and also there's been success there.
Look at the haul there off the left side. Dances back. How about that from Cam Miller? Touchdown! Give me your analysis of where this Bison team can go in 2023.
I think that's an unknown, but I think the ceiling is very, very high. I think we have some guys who are going to have to step up that haven't played before. So I think the first 3 games we're really going to see where we're at and where we can go. But I think what I've seen in fall camp, we can be really, really good.
Miller tells me he'll use his extra year of eligibility and return to the Bison for the fall of 2024. Logan Campbell joins us now for her third year of Bison football coverage with a closer look at the guys that will protect Miller, the offensive line.
Yeah, Dom, there is plenty to talk about with this offensive line group. They are the heart and soul of NDSU football, as we both know. But with the departure of NFL linemen Cody Mauch and Nash Jensen, the question is who will play where in the trenches for the Bison?
Obviously, it's much different. You know, it's like you're at a job and you lose one of your best coworkers. You know, it's hard. It's hard to stomach.
You won't see any Cody Mauch first down celebrations this season.
Cody Mauch with the slide, signaling the first down.
But NDSU's offensive line is returning talent. So much so, the Bison are trying to figure out who fits where.
Guys are going to step up. Guys are going to take their spot. So in our room, there's no love lost. I mean, there's competition going out the door.
After breaking his ankle against Southern Illinois, Mason Miller is back at 100%. This offseason, the previous starting right tackle has also been taking reps at right guard, and left tackle.
These past couple of years, a lot of people have been bouncing around to different positions, and that just speaks to kind of the volume that Coach Larson coaches at, saying, I don't want one guy playing in just one certain position. I want you to be able to do it all.
Jalen Sundell, a sixth year who is taking reps at center and left guard, was just named to the Senior Bowl watch list, says he plays offensive line. While Sundell was out with a foot injury, Brandon Westberg stepped in at center, not missing a beat.
There's so much competition in our room, so much history in our room, that if we didn't have that competition, we wouldn't be able to be held to the standard that every other Ram in the history of NDSU has been held to.
Jake Kubis, another sixth-year leader, is back in the trenches at right guard. And Gray Zabel, now a senior, is ready to show he earns a spot on the starting line.
Just coming to practice every single day with the kind of mindset where there's an open position and anybody can fill it.
We need that competition in our room, and we need the ability to play multiple different positions to uphold that standard and tradition.
Don't be surprised if you see different combinations on the offensive line during the first 3 games of the season. And you can also expect to see Jake Rock and Hunter Pontius getting in the mix. Coming up on our Bison preview special, Eli Mostert is back from injury, and he is ready to have a monster 5th-year season.
Back again, huh? You must love losing.
You're buying the next one.
You've got to win one first.
Okay.
Order ahead in the app and try one of our $3.50 bundles, paired with an any size Dr. Pepper for $1.39.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. Now get 3.9% financing for 60 months plus $3,500 in total savings on Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew. Only at your local Northland Ford dealers.
The new 2023 GMC Sierra AT4X is equipped to conquer the great outdoors. Or the great indoors. Welcome to the peak of premium off-roading. Or get 0.9% APR plus over 3,200 total trade assistance and no monthly payments for 90 days on 2023 Sierra Denali 5.3-liter V8 light-duty models.
Summer won't last forever, but during Toyota's national sales event, you can make memories that will.
Come on. There you go.
Where's my mom? Just be in the moment.
Right now, current Toyota owners or lessees may qualify for $1,000 loyalty cash on the lease of new 2023 Toyota vehicles. Toyota, let's go places.
Making each moment matter through care and compassion for you, for them, for us. Hospice of the Red River Valley.
Back again, huh? You must love losing.
You're buying the next one.
You've got to win one first.
Okay.
Order ahead in the app and try one of our $3.50 bundles, paired with an any size Dr. Pepper for $1.39.
You're watching the news leader, WDAY.
A key piece is returning for the Bison defense as preseason All-American candidate Eli Mostert returns after a lost 2022 season. Mostert's absence was significant at times as NDSU's defense struggled to replace him. But now he's healthy and eager for a big comeback year.
Hate to see this if you're a North Dakota State fan.
Yeah, that was my first broken bone in general.
Just 2 games into the regular season, Eli Mostert broke his leg, sidelining him for the next 3 months.
Practice sucked the most because we have so many practices and we go 4 practices a week. I just sit on the sideline and just do nothing. And when I had my boot and my scooter, I just couldn't do anything, so it wasn't fun at all. But the games also sucked.
Although Mostert wasn't playing, the senior's game continued to grow with his leadership.
I was in there all the time. I tried to help them as much as I could because when I was a second year playing in that spring season, Ching and Lane were there for me. Like I tried to be there for them, so I just was there for them every step of the way. So. With
Mostert gone for the majority of the year, Jackson Dutenheffer and Cody Heisman were thrust into major roles.
Help a lot. We're going to be whatever five deep, hopefully. So. Getting them some big time playing time was nice, and now we can rotate 5 deep now this year. So
throughout Mostert's recovery process, his competitive side kept kicking in.
I just thought I wanted to be there for the team, you know. And since Will got hurt in that last semifinal game, I thought I had to be out there no matter what. So I just pushed myself and got out there.
Sure enough, he found a way to get back on the field for the national championship.
It was hard on me, but to get back and play that last game I thought that was a positive, even though we didn't get it done in the end. But I thought it was positive for myself that I got back in that small amount of time, but as we've got through the offseason, I've been getting better and better every single day.
Today, Mostert's health is at 100%, and the Bison have one of their biggest leaders back on the field.
I've been trying to do the last couple of years. I'm trying to start to lead more, so I've been trying to get in that role with the D-line and the whole defense in general. So it's been fun, and I got to keep getting better no matter what.
Now our color analyst for the season and former Bison defensive end Kyle Manuel joins me in studio. Kyle, big player for this Bison defense is back. What are your expectations for Eli Mostert?
Yeah, well, I expect him to return to All-American form. I really do. I think they missed him a ton a year ago. The one positive was you got so many guys that got to play. A lot of freshmen got a lot of experience, but they definitely missed him. You look at this Bison football team, and especially the years where they're the most dominant, they had a really dominant defensive lineman. You lose Spencer Wagey to the NFL. You lose a couple of other guys. Tony Pierce transfers. What is that going to look like? Well, hopefully it's Eli Mostert back, and hopefully it's him back at a, hopefully Buck Buchanan award. He's on that watch list. Hopefully he's at that level. I think this defense needs him.
So the Bison get a big player back, but they also lose another big player during the offseason. Iowa State defensive end transfer Hunter Zenzen suffered a non-contact foot injury. He's done for the season. How big of a loss is this for the Bison?
Well, it's interesting because we don't really know how big of a loss it was because we haven't seen him play yet, but everything we were hearing from spring ball, even early on in fall camp, is potentially maybe one of their better defensive ends coming into this year, and now he's out. The injury bug bites NDSU early, which is obviously unfortunate. There are still a lot of players there in that defensive end room. Jake Cava's coming back. There's a number of young guys too that I think NDSU fans should be excited about. But you think about Hunter Zenzen and all the kind of the hype around him, and a young man that was recruited by NDSU early on, transfers in, a lot of expectations. I was personally excited to see what he could do on the edge, and now unfortunately he won't be there for the upcoming year.
So who are you hoping to see step up?
Well, I think it's going to be Lashaka Rokes. I really do. I really like what I've seen from him in the past. Now, you look at the production, especially a year ago, I think there's only 1.5 sacks, but he's got the talent. I think we've seen him flash throughout his year. 2 years ago, you kind of thought last year might be the breakout year for him. Wasn't necessarily when it came to the numbers, but there's enough there. I feel like with Hunter Zenzen down now, he's probably going to be one of the starters. He might have been anyway. And so hopefully he can step up and he can be that guy off the edge along with Eli Mostert on the inside.
Now let's switch to the offensive side of the ball. This offensive line is always one of the strongest position groups for the Bison. They have almost all of their returning starters. There's so much competition, Kyle, they don't even know who's going to play where.
Yeah, exactly. And the interesting battle there is the center position. You had Jalen Sundell got hurt a year ago. Brandon Westberg comes in, does a phenomenal job. Now, you probably want to get both of them on the field. You are losing Cody Mauck, you are losing Nash Jensen, but it's one of those things where you almost don't worry about it if you're a Bison fan, even a Bison coach, because there's so much talent coming back and a lot of guys that played in that spring season. So what's that starting five going to look like? I don't know, but I feel like there's 6 guys. I have a list right in front of me, 6 guys that could play, that could start. So I would guess, I'm going to say tackle. I think Jalen Sundell will move out. I'm going to say Jake Kubis will play the guard position. Brandon Westberg will stay at center. Gray Zabel possibly at the other guard, and then Mason Miller will be playing tackle. But there's also Jake Rock there who has played a ton as well. He could be kind of that 6th guy that could play anywhere. Maybe he comes in, now you move Jalen Sundell back to a guard. there's a lot of different combinations, so it'll be fun to see where that ends up landing.
Lots of different combinations. It'll be exciting to see who will be that starting 5 come next weekend. Kyle, thanks so much for joining
Absolutely.
me. When we come back, history will be made next weekend. We'll take a deeper dive into the first college football game to be played inside U.S. Bank Stadium.
Life's better when you're under our roof.
Guess that's what American Family Insurance is for.
He's the wise twin.
Save up to 23% when you bundle your home and auto insurance today.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. Now get 2.9% financing for 66 months plus $1,500 FlexBuy cash on Bronco Sport, Escape, and Edge. Only at your local Northland Ford dealers.
Stay prepared for the days and nights ahead with the best weather team. Download the Storm Tracker app, powered by Laney's. Get alerts and updates straight from the WDAY Storm Tracker team with accurate weather reports specific to your area. Just search WDAY in the Apple or Google Play Store. Download the Storm Tracker app and be ready to plan your day. The Storm Tracker app, powered by Laney's. Download it today.
A better way of life is better days off and better nights in. Better hellos and better goodbyes. With locally approved, financed, and serviced home loans, Gate City Bank makes buying a home simple. Welcome to a century of better banking. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life.
It's time to upgrade your ride at Luther Family Buick GMC. This is the best selection of new Buicks and GMCs we've had in years. Choose from new 2022 GMC Terrain starting at $35,995. Explore our wide range of Buick Enclaves as low as $50,998. The inventory is strong and the prices are even better. Stop in today. Luther Family Buick GMC, I-29 and 32nd Avenue South, Fargo. We are professional grade.
Life's better when you're under our roof.
Guess that's what American Family Insurance is for.
He's the wise twin.
Save up to 23% when you bundle your home and auto insurance today.
Follow us on Twitter, WDAY News.
3-yard line. Option, Jensen leading, and he's inside the 1. The ball comes free, but I think they're going to say he's down.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands.
It's one of the most memorable games in Bison football history. The 2010 FCS quarterfinals. It was ruled Brock Jensen fumbled at the 1-yard line, and Eastern Washington recovered. The Eagles won the game 38-31 in overtime. They would go on to win the national championship that year. Bison fans are still bitter about that call 13 years later. NDSU got some payback, though, 8 years later when the two teams did play for the FCS championship in Frisco. Easton Stick in his final game threw 2 touchdowns, and he ran for 3 scores as the Bison won a 7th national championship with a 38-24 win over Eastern Washington. The Bison have a 4-1 all-time record against the Eagles. And we're less than a week away from the highly anticipated 2023 season opener for NDSU, and the opponent will always stir up emotions for Bison fans. Eastern Washington. This year's version of the Eagles are not highly touted. They were picked 7th in the Big Sky preseason poll. Aaron Best's team won just 3 games last year, giving up an average of 42 points per game. They were the worst team against the run in the country. EWU has its usual high-octane offense led by sophomore Kakoa Vesperis and are ready to surprise some people at U.S. Bank Stadium.
We're excited about the opportunity when it came about a year and a half, 2 years ago when we got into talks with this possibly happening. And it's about the players. Those guys, they never get to take that moment away once they play in that stadium, win, lose, or draw. I mean, it's an awesome experience.
Getting a powerhouse FCS team first game in a big venue. We went back 2021, went to UNLV and took over their stadium. So we're going to go here and take over this stadium and just set the tone first game.
Nerd staff for Eastern Washington. This is the third different NFL stadium the Eagles have played in. They played at Quest Field in Seattle in 2009 against Portland State. And as Darian Simpson mentioned 2 years ago, they faced UNLV at Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Raiders and this year's Super Bowl. Speaking of the Super Bowl, US Bank Stadium hosted Super Bowl 52 in 2018. Now, for the first time, the home of the Vikings will host a college football game. 2 years ago, the game was announced between NDSU and Eastern Washington. The Bison will play in the Twin Cities for the second time in 4 years after opening the 2019 season at Target Field, the home of the Minnesota Twins. Over 20 players on the Bison roster have played high school games there, with 4 players winning state championships. Now they'll get an opportunity to return that they never expected to happen.
Biggest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I walked out onto the field and I just kept looking up and I was like, there's no way this thing gets packed full. But I'm excited. Hopefully it does for our game.
I'm going to go into it with an attitude like it's nothing new. And like I've been here, I've done this before. It's a great atmosphere. And it was when I was in high school. But like I said, coming to college, with our fan base, I can only imagine it's going to be 10 times better.
I mean, I've played in it 2 times prior to this, so being able to play there as a college player now, and kind of understanding more about football instead of running around and just hitting people, it's going to be really cool.
The Bison will be the home team for this game, and they get the rare treat of using the Minnesota Vikings locker room. Only the Vikings and the Eagles, when they won the Super Bowl, have been in that place. When we come back, a look at the WDAY schedule of Bison football. We wrap things up in 2.5 minutes.
The last of summer will draw you in at Toyota's National Sales Event. It's like a magnet, but for people.
Current Toyota owners or lessees may qualify for $1,000 loyalty cash on the lease of new 2023 Toyota vehicles. Toyota, let's go places.
Legacy Wealth Management presents Investment Talk TV every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. live on your ABC stations here in North Dakota. Hear from LPL Financial Advisors Paul Myers, Brady Brunsvold, and Brian Bruce as they answer your questions about investing, retiring, and the stock market.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. Now get 3.9% financing for 60 months plus $3,500 in total savings on Ford F-150 XLT Super Crew. Only at your local Northland Ford dealers.
Hi, I'm David, and I'm an alcoholic. I knew those words were true long before I ever spoke them out loud. I wish I could say I only got sober for my family or myself, but it took nearly losing my career. Since my sobriety date, almost 4 years ago, I can honestly say I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have the support of my family, friends, employer, and the NDPHP.
If you are a medical provider and are struggling with substance use or mental health concerns, please call the NDPHP. We are here to help.
Get ready for a night of non-stop fun with Tommy James and the Shondells. Friday, September 22nd, Shooting Star Casino, Hotel, and Entertainment in Mahnomen. With the legendary Tommy James and the Shondells. Tickets are on sale now at starcasino.com.
The last of summer will draw you in at Toyota's National Sales Event. It's like a magnet, but for people.
Current Toyota owners or lessees may qualify for $1,000 loyalty cash on the lease of new 2023 Toyota vehicles. Toyota, let's go places.
Storm Tracker meteorologist Jesse Ritka.
Back here, everybody. We couldn't be more excited about a new year of Bison football on WDAY. It's our 3rd year of being the TV home. We've got some great things planned for this season. We'll bring you 10 of the 11 North Dakota State football games, the lone game being at Missouri State. That will be on ESPN+. Don't forget, Bison Game Day gets you started each and every Saturday at 10 a.m. on WDAY with myself, Logan, Jeff Kolpak, and Bison All-American Kyle Emanuel. Our kickoff show starts at 2:20 Saturday from US Bank Stadium. Then kickoff at 2:30 between the Bison and the Eagles. We can't wait for the new season. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see everybody in Minneapolis on Saturday for a new year of Bison football.